We need to get out. We could open the store together.
Store? This is nonsense. You walk in the front door and finish the job. All right. You're not gonna like what comes next. Open your safe.
No, never.
We're the Sisters Brothers. S-I-S-T-E-R-S. Like sisters.
We're looking for a man named Worm.
He stole something from our employer.
We have enough money to stop for good.
Stop what?
Killing people.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes I feel I've got to run away.
Do you realize that our father was struck raving mad and we got his foul blood?
Our father drank, Charlie.
Touche.
Gentlemen, I have found him. I will try to hold him until your arrival.
Make haste. What does this Worm have that's so interesting?
What's the great challenge that all prospectors face? How do I get the gold just beneath my feet? I told you I'm a chemist.
Worm has a formula. You pour it in the river, it lights up all the gold.
Have you ever tested it?
You think it's them?
Yes. We're going to have to fight. Is your gun loaded?
Eventually, you're gonna get us killed.
You're forgetting something. We are the Sisters Brothers. We're good at what we do.
Charlie!
Are you upset?
I'm leaving.
What's wrong with you?
You hit me in public, Charlie.
So I slap you, you slap me back. We're even. So go ahead. Hit me. Hit me. Jesus Christ. What is your goddamn problem?
Oh, tame it love.
So we're doing a shot up here. Shot?
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Whoa. You guys are excited, aren't you?
Hello, Toronto!
This is a very exciting night for us.
I'm really freaking excited to be here tonight.
What a great audience.
I'm so excited to be here. It's such a great honor.
And I'm so honored to be able to show my film to this august crowd.
What's really fun is people who love film, and you are all that. And we're very proud and happy to be here with all of you.
We should not be afraid to tell stories because we are afraid that people will judge.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity and a platform to be able to showcase our work as female filmmakers.
This is for my parents who couldn't come, so thank you. I'm going to prove it to them. I did it!
I've just realized what TIFF actually stands for. Toronto is fantastic.
This is the story of our city, and we're a very proud city, and I want the world to see it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Cohn from IndieWire, and I'd like to welcome our panelists today and introduce them to you very quickly. So to my right, we have the director of the Sisters Brothers, Jacques Audiard. Next to him, we have Thomas Bizamart, the Thank you. The co-writer of the film, and also helping out with some of the translation today. And next to him is Rebecca Root, who you probably remember from the film, not doing so well, but she's still here. The producer and co-star, John C. Reilly, and the other sister brother, Joaquin Phoenix. and the chemist on the run, Riz Ahmed. So let's talk a little bit about the genesis of this collaboration, because it's quite fascinating. And I believe, John, that it starts here a couple years ago when you and Jacques met, right?
Yes, we had kind of a diplomatic détente here in Toronto. The French mafia came over, the American mafia came over, and yeah, my wife Alison Dickey and I, Jacques was here, I think, with Rust and Bone, and we went to this restaurant, and it wasn't open during the day, but we got them to open it, and so we sat in this empty restaurant together. It really was like a mafia, summit or something. And despite Jacques' initial suspicions of these strangers bearing gifts, it was the beginning of a great thing.
So Jacques, you've never made an English language film before. Why now, after all these years?
Pourquoi j'ai fait un film en anglais? C'est une question étrange.
It's a strange question.
Je sais que j'avais envie de travailler avec des acteurs américains depuis longtemps, avec des actrices ou des acteurs américains.
I wanted to work with American actors and actresses for a long
C'était
time.
Et peut-être avant même d'avoir l'idée de faire un western, j'avais envie de travailler avec des Américains.
Even before the idea came to make a western, I wanted to work with American actors.
And so what appealed to you about the idea of an American western?
C'est pas moi qui l'ai eu, c'est John.
It's not my idea, it's John's.
It was Allison's.
C'est les faux coupables.
Yeah.
Well, Joaquin, how about you? I mean, this idea of playing this really wild guy in the Old West is something that, a lot of people might be kind of afraid to go to those kinds of extremes. What appealed to you about this particular character?
Good morning. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I guess it just felt that there was something unique and different. I guess typically, I don't really fucking know Westerns, but how I think of them, I think of like characters that are always really stoic. And there was something about these characters where they had this really vibrant personalities. I think there was something interesting about that. I wanted to work with Jacques and John, and I wasn't doing anything else.
All good reasons. Riz, what about you? You have this very interesting character. It's not sort of a typical Western figure in this movie. What did you make of that?
You mean the character or the? I mean, I really enjoyed playing this character. I kind of got to learn a lot about what was going on at this time in America, and it was like this really idealistic moment where lots of people were trying to set up communes, and it was almost like communism before communism, and all these people coming over from Europe and starting all these kind of idealistic utopian societies, or at least trying to. So I learned a lot about that, and that was pretty interesting, and kind of interesting how it resonated with what's happening in California now, where there's like a different kind of gold rush happening, and there's idealistic people in Silicon Valley going, we can save the world and make a better tomorrow with our technology. So it kind of felt very relevant to today, but also an opportunity to learn about some stuff I didn't really know a lot about.
Rebecca, what was it like for you in this project? And you have to face down these guys in one of the more unsettling scenes of the movie.
It was great fun. I loved Mayfield. Thank you for Mayfield. Because in the book, Mayfield was a male character. So I felt that it was a really wonderful opportunity for a female voice in this very macho world. But there's something about my Mayfield who is kind of tough. And I kind of styled her a little bit on Margaret Thatcher, dare I say that? That's kind of sort of authoritarian, yet, could be the mother of the town.
Well, it is interesting too, because a lot of these characters, we think we know what kind of archetypes they are, and then you kind of disrupt them. Specifically with the Sisters Brothers, I mean, the first thing we see is that they're, these kind of bloodthirsty killers. But with time, you start to understand they've been traumatized in their youth. They have all these different kinds of things, and you kind of feel bad for them. So, as actors kind of developing this chemistry together, what was the process like for you, John, and you, Joaquin, to kind of get at the more sensitive side of these guys?
Yeah, that is one of the more interesting things about the characters. Is like, even though they look like these filthy brutes, that are murderers for a living, which is what they are, they're actually pretty well educated, and they have these somewhat intellectual conversations all the time with each other. So I think they use that thing of judging a book by its cover to their advantage, to always have the jump on people, because people assume that they're less intelligent than they are. Kind of like me and Joaquin. No. Yeah, so we just spent time together, really. That was, you know, Joaquin pointed out before, like these guys have spent their entire lives together, and since the time they left home, it's been really only the two of them every night, every ride, every meal. So we had a lot of catching up to do, so we just tried to spend as much time together as possible.
What was that like for you, Joaquin?
It was great for me. I think it was more difficult for John, but he's very patient and understanding. So we made it through, didn't we, sis?
We did.
Thank you.
Well, Jacques, what was your what were you hoping to achieve with the kind of dynamic between the brothers here?
Ce que je voulais faire, en fait, c'était ce qui m'est apparu très vite.
It appeared to me very early in the
C'est que
process.
c'était, oui, ce sont des durs, ce sont des
That they are
types
tough guys, that they are killers.
qui sont usés par la vie.
They're worn out.
Mais en fait, ce sont des enfants de 12 ans.
But they are just our children, 12-year-old children.
Pour moi, c'était ça.
That's what appeared to me.
En fait, c'est plus pour moi un conte qu'un western.
So for me, it's more like a fairy tale than a western.
And what sort of opportunities did the Western landscape give you as a filmmaker?
Et quel genre d'opportunités les paysages t'ont donné?
Non, c'est pas les paysages. Le paysage m'intéresse pas.
I'm not really interested in landscapes.
Je suis pas jardinier.
I'm not a gardener.
M'intéresse les acteurs.
But I like actors.
Well, Thomas, let me ask you, as the writer working from the original source material, what sort of compelled you? What sort of changes did you want to make? What sort of compelled you to find the cinematic potential of this story?
Well, the book is told at the first person. It's really about Eli, and there's we had to find situation that will allow the character to stand out, and so we can see as an audience his inner life coming and his new approach to the world, and also we needed I don't know. I think there are actually two couples in the films. There's the sisters, brothers, and then there's Maurice and Warm. Warm is over there, and so it's in the novel. Maurice and Warm are out there, but they're more caricatural maybe, and they're not as present as they are in the film right now.
So before we take some questions from some of the other press here, John, this is, I believe, your first producing credit. What sort of compelled you to take that step? Do you think someone would have made this project if you hadn't sort of pushed it through that way?
Well, I have to, first of all, give credit where credit is due. Although I am technically a producer on the film, my wife, Allison Dickey, it was her idea in the first place. She was working with Patrick DeWitt. She found the book. She suggested Jacques. So she was the initial momentum for the project.
We need her here.
She is here, but, you know,
I love Alison.
Producers like to be
We all love Alison.
seen and not heard sometimes, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, and there's also there's lots of producers on the film. And we each have our strengths, and I did my bit where I could. And I think, yes, the book would have been made into a film without us, because the book is a very compelling piece of work, and you know, it's a great piece of Canadian literature. And also, well, it was we knew that it was a very filmic idea, the book, but we also were friends with Patrick, the author, and so we know what can happen in this process of books becoming movies, and oftentimes they get twisted into an unrecognizable shape. So as a friend to Patrick, I think that's one of the reasons he trusted us with the book, was we said, Pat, we'll try our very hardest to make a great film out of this. We'll find the very best people we can, and please trust us. So that's the story of this movie. That's why we're here.
Right on. So let's take some questions from the journalists here, and just make sure you get the microphone.
Hi, Noah Taylor from The Shelf. I love seeing the reunion of Riz and Jake following Nightcrawler. So I was wondering if your dynamic in that influenced the casting of those actors for this. So it'd be for John or Jacques.
all the decisions on the filmmaking, whether it was cast or costume or whatever, every single aspect in the great French tradition were made by the director. So I think Jacques could speak to that better than I could.
Comment moi je l'avais pas vu. En fait, je t'ai découvert. Je te l'ai déjà dit.
I discovered Riz.
Moi dans le The Night Of.
In The Night Of.
Je n'avais pas vu le film.
I not seen the film with the one with Jake and Riz together.
You should.
Riz, anything about that?
I've seen it.
Yeah, I guess for me and Jake, we're kind of joking. It felt like a kind of sequel for us because, you know, we're double act again and we're on the road, but instead of in a car, we're on horseback. But I guess I think it's interesting working with the same people again, you know, several times. You develop a kind of shorthand, some of that whole getting to know each other stuff you can just get past. So that was cool creatively, you know, just having a kind of common ground to start off with. But it was interesting in the way that the dynamic was kind of reversed almost from Nightcrawler, or at least it was a bit blurry in terms of who was in charge or who was kind of guiding them. So yeah.
Way back there.
Hi guys, thank you for answering our questions. My name is Veronica. I'm from W Radio Colombia, and my question is for Joaquin Phoenix. We hadn't seen you in a while, and this year you have like 4 movies coming out. Was this the first project you got involved with, and can you talk about that time of not working and now working a lot?
Sure. First, can we turn up the lights a little bit? Because it feels like it's very dim up here. I guess, sorry, it's really awful up here, looking out. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure why. It's just I didn't work for a while because there was nothing that I was really interested in, and then there were 4 projects that I couldn't say no to. That's really it. I mean, it wasn't any grand design. It just worked out that way. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Bonjour, Clara Géliot du Figaro Magazine. J'ai une question pour Jacques. Je voulais savoir ce qu'un festival comme celui-ci, au-delà de l'intérêt qu'il peut apporter au film, vous, qu'est-ce que vous aimez dans ce festival en particulier, que vous ne trouvez peut-être pas dans d'autres festivals?
Can you translate that?
Oh yeah, the question is, what do you like about this festival? And apart from what happens with the film, I mean, do you like being here?
Je pense que c'est ce qui définit la particularité même de Toronto, c'est que c'est un festival vraiment sur le continent américain. Enfin,
so what's so special about the festival of Toronto for me is that it's on the American continent.
C'est que vous pouvez avoir ça peut-être en Europe, peut-être qu'on a ça un petit peu à Cannes, mais
d'une
manière
Europe, we have that in Cannes.
Aussi radicale, c'est Toronto.
But as radical as here, no, it's only in Toronto.
Ici, il n'y a pas de compétition.
Merci.
There's no competition here.
Oui, c'est vrai, je vous remercie de le pointer, c'est mieux.
Yeah, I prefer that.
Hi everyone, this is Silas Ram, AsianCultureVulture.com. I've got a question for Riz. Did you ever think you'd be in a Western?
No.
And it looks like you related to the character. So what was it in Hermit that you saw, Herman?
I think, you know, I have to say, I kind of, I just loved this character, man. I really loved him. I thought he's someone who's just trying to make the world a better place, and he's such an optimist, and I think I can sometimes be a bit of a cynic, or at least a bit skeptical. I think that's like the British perspective, you know, it's a bit like, look at everything a bit skeptically. And so, I don't know if I felt like I related to him that much going into it, but by the end I felt like, yeah, it can be a kind of nice way of looking at the world, you know, instead of seeing everything that's broken, looking at all the opportunities that there are to fix things and stuff. He's just someone who really cares about trying to make a positive impact, and I guess that, you know, I tried to take that on.
Over here.
Hi there, Jesse from the CBC. My question's for John. You talked about it briefly, your relationship with Patrick, and I was hoping you could maybe expand on that a bit more. Like, what is your personal relationship like, and how did that end up making this adaptation happen? Maybe perhaps in a smoother process.
Well, my wife Allison and I were working on a film called Terry, an independent film directed by Asa Jacobs. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we met Pat because of Asa, right? Yeah. So Asa was already friends with Patrick DeWitt from Los Angeles, where Pat lived for a long time. He lives in Portland now, I think. But Pat had written this manuscript that was going to be turned into a book for Terry. And then rather than make it into a book, he just transitioned it directly into a screenplay for that film at the urging of Asa and Allison. And then, yeah, I got to know him pretty well through the course of that, making that film, and then he had this other manuscript that was not a book yet, which was destined to become a book, and he gave it to us at the end of that project. So I just saw Pat last night. Our relationship is great. He's a very sensitive and intellectually curious guy. He chooses his words very carefully. In some ways, the way the dialogue is in the book is similar to the way Pat speaks. You know, he's very deliberate with his choice of words, like a great author would be. And yeah, I just feel an enormous debt of gratitude for him for coming up with this idea in the first place. You know, we had this great moment where Pat and some of his family came to visit us in Romania, and he said to me, "You know, John, it's a really gratifying moment as a father, because his son was with him, to say, you know, for his son to be able to look on the set of the San Francisco set and see, like, Dad, all of this happened because you came up with an idea." You know, like, that's kind of a humbling moment for anybody, and it was a special thing to share with Pat.
Thomas, can you tell us about your relationship with Patrick DeWitt in terms of, you know, did you work with him in that?
We actually met with Patrick in Paris, and he came for literary salon, and we met and we talked a lot, and he read the screenplay also once it was finished, and it was really interesting. There's one thing that is not in the book, is the utopia, the idea of the utopia that Warm has, that socialist utopia, and it's great, and we were very happy that he enjoyed that he liked this idea, you know, that it's really the icing on the cake of all that story. They just not talk about gold all the time. Gold is just a stepping stone. There's an idea behind that, and so yeah, and he enjoyed that, and we were happy about that.
And Jacques, how important was it for you to sort of stay true to the original vision of this story versus what you guys wanted to do with it?
Pour toi, est-ce que c'était important de rester vrai par rapport au livre?
Ça a été long à adapter.
It was a long process, the adaptation.
Parce que parce que je crois que le charme du livre était vraiment littéraire, et on a mis.
So the charm of the book is really a literary one.
Et on a mis du temps à se détacher de.
So it took us time to go away from the book, to get away from it. But actually, I wanted to say that it's the second time we adapt a Canadian writer. You know, it's true. We did. Rust and Bone was based on the short stories from Craig Davidson, and now it's Patrick DeWitt. So if there's a new writer in the
what
room,
is the conclusion of that?
I don't know. That's why we always come back to Toronto.
Okay. You really fit in here.
Like the song, you know the song that it's better to run to Toronto. You know, it's a nice song.
Other questions from the audience? Yes.
Hi, everyone. Dylan Dempsey with No Film School. This question's for whoever wants to answer. What would be your best advice for emerging artists and young storytellers? Qu'est-ce que c'est vos conseils pour des jeunes artistes et cinéastes?
La question s'adresse à qui, pardon?
It's for everybody.
J'entends une voix parler dans le noir.
I hear a voice in the dark.
Parfois, j'ai l'impression que c'est Dieu.
Sometimes I think it's God talking.
So, Dieu, qu'est-ce que tu me demandes?
So, God, what do you want to know?
Qu'est-ce que c'est vos conseils pour des jeunes artistes et réalisateurs et cinéastes?
Alors d'abord je vois pas, je me sens très mal. Je sais pas si je peux même.
I don't think if I can really talk about this.
Oui, c'est une responsabilité, monsieur.
It's a responsibility to answer that question.
Il faut se droguer. Non, je plaisante.
You have to take drugs. No, it's a joke.
Smiley. Non, je sais pas. Moi, ce qui me surprend toujours, en fait, depuis le temps, c'est que.
It's always surprising for me.
C'est que le cinéma, normalement, est une œuvre d'image.
That cinema is really about images.
Et que c'est incroyable comme ça passe toujours par de l'écrit.
And it's incredible how it always ends up being a work of writing.
Alors j'aurais tendance à dire à cette jeune femme ou ce jeune homme
So I would like to tell you
d'écrire. Et puis,
write.
Oh, sorry. No. Capitaine.
Monsieur.
I don't know. I don't like these kind of questions, but I thought of something good to say while Jacques was talking, while I didn't understand what he was saying. Which is that don't assume that there isn't a place for you in this world. There is. There is. But you have to make it, right? You have to make your place in this world. I come from a background in Chicago where I looked at the movies like this foreign country. There was no place for me there. And just through trying and just staying optimistic and trying to grow as an artist or as an actor or as a human being, I made a place for myself at the table.
Ben voilà, j'avais cru faire une réponse. Je pense que c'est la réponse de John qui est.
John's answer is much better.
We have time for one more.
It's Noah with the Shelf again. I was just wondering, you talked a little bit about hanging around together to develop your chemistry, but did the schedule allow for much rehearsal, or was it just kind of getting to know each other? Or was there much rehearsal schedule?
Est-ce qu'il y a eu beaucoup de répétitions dans le programme ou est-ce que...
Non.
No, there was not any rehearsal time.
Non, on se met en place, on tourne.
No, we just shot.
We did one day of reading through the scenes, but it was almost obligatory, just so we could say, "All right, we've done our rehearsal. Can we get on with it now?" Like,
what was the most intimidating scene for you guys to shoot, especially like when you knew it was coming up? There's a lot of gunplay and crazy bar scenes and stuff.
Everyone.
yeah, this was a very demanding film to make. Every day was kind of a challenge, you know? It wasn't like there was there was many different dangerous things, there were many complicated things. Those horses are very unpredictable, you know?
Ils peuvent dire, on va rentrer, on va dire, oui, celle-là. Moi, il faut que je leur confesse aujourd'hui, j'aurais pas dit.
I have to confess today.
Et vraiment, je suis heureux de le faire en public.
Really, I'm happy to make a public confession.
C'est que ça m'arrive très rarement, mais j'étais tous les matins extraordinairement enthousiaste à l'idée de les rencontrer, soit par deux, soit par trois, soit par quatre. Franchement, ça m'est c'est très sincère.
It's very sincere.
Parfois, j'étais fatigué.
Sometimes I was tired.
Mais ils sont tellement, j'adorais les voir le matin.
But I loved to see them in the morning.
L'après-midi, ça se gâtait.
In the afternoon, it was different, but in the morning, it was.
Well, on that note, thank you all for being here. Thanks.
Merci. Thank you.